Yes, good evening, everyone. As per the module number 4B, as what it is planned, okay? So we are going to have our recorded sessions right now. So module 4B, which is entirely the three-phase synchronous generators, what we are going to discuss. So in this three-phase synchronous generators, we are going to start with the initial part as it is all been already been studied. Okay, so we are going to discuss regarding the three-phase synchronous generator. First aspect, what it is there, it is the construction and the working principle. Okay, we are going to discuss the construction and the working principle or principle of operation. So next we have different types of rotors which comes under the constructional details only, and just before that you are going to have different types of rotor construction after the constructional details of the motor is being done, and we are going to have a certain introduction with respect to the three-phase synchronous generator. All right, so these are the concepts that we are going to discuss, and later we are going to have what would be the frequency of the generated voltage, and next I'm going to have the derivation of EMF equation. If possible, I can record this in the same video, or else we'll have the different video entirely dedicated for EMF equation and concept of the winding factor. And we are going to discuss certain applications of the synchronous generators, what we have planned in the classroom session. All right, so these are the contents what we have got. These are the exact contents what we have got in the three-phase synchronous generators, along with the numerical problems also. Okay, so we are going to have these numerical problems discussed in detail. Okay, again I'll post a recorded video of it, and it would be quite easy for you to go through the numerical problems. So these numerical problems are quite simple. Okay, so these simple numerical problems are there, and you can go through it one by one. Okay, let's move on to the thing which is the introduction aspect of the synchronous generator. So now this synchronous, or what do you generally mean by this is a synchronous? Okay, so when I say the word synchronous motors or synchronous generators, so you have generators and motors already. You have studied it in DC generators and DC motors. Now when I'm talking about this synchronous generators, okay, so these are the synchronous generator what I have being seen. Okay, so synchronous generators or alternators, so these are generally used to convert the mechanical power. So when I say generate, okay, the output is said to be mechanical, I mean sorry, output is said to be electrical in nature. Okay, the output is said to be electrical in nature. So the mechanical power which is derived either from the steam gas. Okay, so either I can call it from the steam or gas. Okay, steam or generally a gas, or any hydraulic turbine that is used to generate the AC electric power. Okay, so that is what I generally use or generally taken into consideration when I have hydraulic turbine. Okay, so which acts as the prime mover to generate the AC electric power. So what you see here at the generating stations, so it is generally you will be having the water which is made to fall from a higher place. Okay, which is made to fall from a higher place. So these will be here we'll be having the turbine. So once you have the turbine to be rotating in nature, so that is more or less the mechanical energy that is being developed. Okay, that is being coupled to a synchronous generator, or we generally call it as a three-phase generator or an alternator. So three-phase alternator. So it's certainly in the generating station we'll be having some 100 kilowatt, okay, or 200 kilowatt, okay, or certainly 1,000 kilowatt of the alternator that has been installed. So that is more or less like the power rating of the machine. Okay, so now when I talk about this generating station or generators which are being present there at the generating station, so these are said to be the primary source of the electrical energy. Okay, now next, when I have this electrical energy which has been generated, so I'll be making use of the large AC power networks. So, okay, so when I talk about it, so it is nothing but the large AC power networks which are already there. So in the country, so which are more or less which are interconnected. When I'm talking about interconnected, it is connected from one state to the other state, or one district to the other district. Okay, so you have more or less like an interconnected network. All right, So that is what you see there in the large AC power network here. Okay. So now when I talk about large AC power network, so which almost rely exclusively on the synchronous generators. So what do I mean by it is, so we have the voltage that is generated. So I call it as three-phase AC voltage which is generated. So this three-phase AC voltage which is generated, so I'll be having the synchronous generator which is responsible for the generation of the three-phase voltage. All right. So now that's the reason why you will be having this change in the voltage. So entire power network get damaged. All right. So that's the reason why we generally go for the stability aspect. We entirely rely upon the synchronous generator to produce more or less the uniform voltage level. Okay, we want the uniform voltage level to be generated. Okay, so that is what we require. Now when I talk about this synchronous motors, okay, when I talk about this synchronous motors which are generally present, okay, so they are generally built into large units. Okay, so when you compare with the synchronous induction motors, so induction motors are cheaper for the smaller ratings, and it is used for constant speed and industrial drives. So when I say in industrial drives, so either a rolling machine or a milling machine, okay, so we generally employ these induction motors. Generally it is for the smaller ratings. So when I use the synchronous motor, okay, synchronous motor here, so it will be used for the higher rating. Okay, so that is what do I mean by it. So next, coming to the construction and the working principle. So let us start with the construction aspect first. So now when I talk about any three-phase machine, I'll be having the two parts in a machine which I generally call it as, the stator. Okay, which I generally call it as stator. Okay, so I call this as stator. Okay, I call this as more or less, okay, I call this as the stator. Okay, just a moment, I call this as just a moment, yes, I call this as stator, which is generally having the uh, cast iron as the material, so which also houses the armature conductors, so which houses the armature core. Okay, as we already discussed, we have armature core plus armature conductors that are being present there. All right, so these are the core of a machine. Okay, on this core, okay, on this core, so this is how the construction is being done. So these are the slots in a machine. So what you can see here, these are the slots in a machine. So in the slots we will be having the which are placed, these slots are placed in the inner periphery of the machine, so which is responsible for the having the armature conductors. These are responsible for having the armature conductors. All right. So now, once when I say this construction is being done, which is of a cast iron frame, okay, so which houses the armature core. So it is having the slots which are present there in the inner periphery for accommodating or for housing the armature conductors. So now, when I come to the rotor, which resembles a flywheel with alternate north and the south poles. Okay, so this is the north and the south poles fixed on its outer rim. Okay, so this is fixed on the outer rim of the machine. So these are the responsible, like more or less when I have the field magnets, so they are said to be rotating in nature. So this current is supplied through two slip rings which are present. Okay, so when I say the rotor resembles a flywheel, so you will be having alternate north pole and the south pole, and these field magnets are rotating where the current is supplied through two slip rings in the machine. So when I talk about slip ring type, okay, so these are supplied by two slip rings. Okay, so when the rotor is rotated by the prime mover, okay, so here the rotor gets the mechanical input, so that's why it is being having the connection, or it is connected to the prime mover. So the stator windings or the conductors, okay, the stator windings or the conductors are cut by the magnetic flux, okay, magnetic flux on the rotor poles. Okay, so this is where the rotor is rotated, and the prime mover is helping the rotor to rotate, and you will be having the stator windings or conductors which are cut by the magnetic flux or the rotor poles. Okay, so that is a simple way in which you can depict the more or less the working principle and also the constructional details of three-phase synchronous generators. Okay. Now, when I talk about this one, which is uh, the synchronous generator, so it is having both the armature winding and field winding. Now, so two major differences when I wanted to talk about the armature winding of a synchronous generator. It's an AC winding and it is connected to produce the AC supply. So what I mean by it is, and we am talking about the output. So output here is said to be AC in case of the synchronous generator. So this is the AC winding that is having, and these stator windings are having two types of connections. That is a star connection, and we'll be having a delta connection. Okay, so these are the connections which I have. So that is the star connection and the delta connection. So overall, I'll be calling it as the AC winding. It is connected to produce the AC supply, and you will be having the field winding. So this armature winding, we generally call it as the AC winding, and this is the field winding where a DC supply is given to the field winding. Okay, that is where I'll be talking entirely with respect to the DC supply. So in case of a synchronous generator, what I'm talking, the armature winding is mounted on the stationary element, which is called as a stator, and the field windings are on the rotating element, which is called as the rotor. So unlike what you did in a three-phase induction motor, so rotor is having the supply of the mechanical input, which is driven by a prime mover or any other means. Okay. So next you will be having this stator, which is having the supply of current to the, to the synchronous generator. So more or less, you will be having the input as mechanical and the output is said to be electrical in nature. So this is the stator windings, the cross-sectional view of it. Okay. So when I'm talking about the cross-sectional view, so I'll be having the stator windings. So you'll be having stator frame or the core. Next, you'll be having the DC windings. I call this as the field windings also. Field windings. Next, you'll be having the pole piece. Next, you'll be having the spider. Okay. So this is more or less the spider arrangement that you got there in a machine. Okay. So next, you'll be having the shaft of the machine. Okay. The this is said to be the shaft of the machine. Now, when I take out the field winding here, so this is more or less the synchronous machine. We have the rotor construction again. We have two types of rotor. Again, we call it as a salient pole type and the non-salient pole type. Okay, non-salient pole type. Okay, these are the two types of rotor construction that I'm going to have. So one I will be having it depending on the requirement. So here it is a salient rotor type where it is the field structure. It is entirely dependent. So these are the slip rings what I have here. All right. So now the DC supply is given to this field windings. Okay. So I'll be having the production of flux. So this flux will cross and it will link the stator windings that we generally call it as the stator AC windings there. So next you will be having the stator frame, or we call it as the core of the machine. So you'll be having it passed through this rotor, air gap, and you will be having the stator windings. All right. So this is more or less the stator or the armature structure, and armature windings are generally placed in the slots of a machine. So what do you see here? So it is from the Peter Motors Incorporated. So this is where I have drawn, I have got this image where the windings are being wound on the stator. So you will be having the connections entirely done with the series combination. So that is where you will be having the series combinations of this machine, which we generally call it as the stator part of the synchronous machine. Okay, so this is how I can simply depict it. Now looking at this figure over here. Okay, so I have three phases, that is R, Y and B. Okay, so this is a two pole rotor that I have. So the number of poles will be equal to 2 here, and you will be having the field winding excited by the DC supply. Okay, now so these windings are generally 120-degree displacement that is there. So these are the stator coil outputs. I'm talking about the voltage VR, Vy and Vb. Okay, so in case if I want to write it as line voltage, so it is Vry, Vyb and Vbr. Okay, so that is where you will be having the three stator windings as already been seen here. So all A, B and C. Okay, so what I've seen here, so I've taken the line of axis. Okay, axis line. So this is said to be having a 120-degree displacement with respect to each other. So what do you see? What do you see here? what you see here is poles that are present there. So these are more or less the field poles, or the field winding is wound on the field pole. So here you will be having the field flux which is to be generated, and it will be linking the stator conductors. Okay, stator conductors are being present. All right. So this is what a simple working principle of a synchronous machine. Okay, now when I'm talking about the field, more or less the field is being supplied from a separate source. Okay, so it is maybe a 220-volt DC supply, or in case of higher rating of the machines. Okay, so higher rating of the machines, a small DC shunt or a compound generator. Why do we generally go for a DC shunt motor? That would be the question, or a compound motor. So more or less I want the field excitation to have a constant voltage. Okay, so I want to have the constant voltage of 125 or 250 volts, or somewhat around 400 volts. So that is more or less called as a exciter to the circuit. So we call it as the exciter, or the DC supply, or the DC winding which is to be energized in a synchronous machine. All right, so that is where I'm going to use it. Now the field winding of the alternator is rotated with the armature ring, so, and it is known as the rotor. Okay, so this rotor will be housing the field winding, and that is more or less the field winding of the alternator. It is supplied from the DC shunt or the compound generator. So now I have the exciting current which is being developed, or I can call it as the field current of the rotor, which is through the two slip ring arrangements what I have. Okay, so I have this two slip rings and the brushes of the machine. So now how do I generally select this power rating, or what is the power rating of the machine that is to be required for the exciter? It is more or less 1% as the maximum value, and nearly the minimum value is said to be 0.3% of the power rating of the synchronous generator. Okay, so when I say 100 kilowatt machine, so the maximum exciter level, so that is 1% of it. So more or less it will be 1 kilowatt machine that I'm going to install as the exciter. That is more or less the DC shunt generator will have a power rating of 1 kilowatt for a 100 kilowatt synchronous machine. So that is what do I mean by the exciter arrangement. So coming to the types of rotor. Okay, so coming to the types of rotor, so you know that the synchronous machine generally having different ranges of speed. Okay, so having the low speed, or I'll be going for the high speed. So when I'm talking about the low speed arrangement, I'll be going for the salient pole type arrangement. Now why do I generally use it? So I'll be using it based on the application, that is the low speed and the medium speed alternators that I'm going to use. Next, I'll be having 120 to 400 RPM. Why? So generally because of the low speeds that are produced in the alternator or the three-phase synchronous generator. So because of the following reasons. So why do I need to generate? So depending upon the application that has been present. All right, so now, so what it can do, it can have the excessive damage loss if it is driven at the high speed. Now I use the same construction if I want to drive more than 400 rpm. I'll raise it to 600 rpm. So what will happen if there is a rise in the value of the speed? So it will create an excessive loss, or there will be heating effect. So once there is an heating effect, you will be having the windage losses that are present. So if the windage losses are more, so there will be more or less the heating which causes the windings to be damaged furthermore. Okay, so you need to operate this machines, which is a salient pole machine, so in such a way that you will be having the speed to be less than 400 rpm or 500 rpm, and the motor, okay, once it is in motion or it is to be driven, so it tends to produce noise if driven at higher speeds. Okay, so now these construction are said to be smooth, more or less not smooth, because it's made of iron, so it cannot be made strong enough to withstand the mechanical stresses to which they are subjected to higher speeds. Okay, so now what I told you, it is a higher speed that is present. Okay, so once I'm talking about higher speed of a machine, so it is more or less the speed at which the rotor is to be driven. Okay, so now depending on the rotor construction, okay, depending on the rotor construction and the number of alternative poles which are being bolted on the machine, so it cannot be subjected to higher speeds. So that is the reason why you will be having this mechanical stresses as soon as the speed get increased. All right. So that is what do I mean by the salient pole type rotor. Okay. So now what you see here is the axial length of the motor. Okay. So this is more or less said to be the axial length of the motor, and this is said to be the overall diameter of the machine. So including the north pole. So if it is brought down, so you'll be having the more or less the north and the south pole, and this is the entire rotor arrangement what we have it for the salient pole type. So this is what we call it as the rotor arrangement. So this is how the field windings are wound. So you'll be having the brushes here, and this is where the field windings are wound entirely just like this, and taking out from each and every pole will be having the field windings, and then you will be having the DC supply given to this field windings. So this is where the poles are more or less acting as an extension to from the slip rings arrangement. So it acts as an extension. So that's the reason why we generally call this to be a salient pole type, where the poles are being extended. All right. So DC supply is given to it, and the field windings get energized, and the flux produced by the field windings will link the stator windings and gives a three-phase output. Now how the construction aspects, once I call it as a salient pole type, or what did I tell you right now? It is being projecting, or we call it as the projecting pole rotor type construction. It is also called as a salient pole type. So it is made up of thick steel laminations which are riveted together, and it is being fixed by a dovetail joint. Okay, so this fixing of the rotor, it is done by the dovetail joint. So what are the major use? Depending on the constructional aspect. So you are having the large diameter length. Okay, large diameter of the machine is being got, and you will be having the short axial length of the machine. Coming to the poles and a pole shoe, entirely it is laminated. Why do we need to go for laminations? To minimize the iron losses. Okay, iron losses is to be minimized, and in iron losses I'm specifically talking about the eddy currents, and you need to minimize the heating that is caused due to the eddy current losses. So once I select a material, I need to select in such a way that the laminations have to be provided should be less. Okay, so because the eddy currents losses will be present if you take any machine into consideration. So what, as an engineer, I need to reduce the losses which are present. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm going for the lamination purpose. Next, so where it is used with hydraulic turbines or the diesel engines. Okay, so along with the prime movers, what is that? So I'll be having an engine arrangement. So it is a fuel driven engine, that is diesel, and you will be having the hydraulic turbines. So water, okay, which has been made to fall from a higher place, you will be having it called as the hydraulic turbines. Okay. Next, moving on to the second type of construction, that is smooth cylindrical type, or we call it as the non-salient pole type or non-projecting pole type arrangements. So as we had a discussion in the last slides, which is with respect to the high speed, low speed one. So here we are going to have this very high speed turbo alternators, and it is driven by the steam turbines. Now, when I'm talking about steam turbines here, so it is quite used for the high speed alternators. Okay, or we call it as turbo alternators. Okay, turbo alternators. Okay, so that is why it is called. So where the construction is entirely done by the solid forged steel cylinder, having the number of slots for accommodating the field coils. Okay, so along with the field arrangement, you need to accommodate the field coils as it is present. So once when I go with the figure, you will come to know how the forged steel cylinder having the number of slots which is responsible for accommodating the field coils. Now these rotors could be designed for number of poles of a machine to be a 2-pole or a 4-pole turbo generators. So they are arranged around the central polar areas where the flux density is said to be maximum. Once I'm talking about this flux density, okay, so this flux density to be a maximum. Why, when I call this flux density to be maximum, you will be having the magnetic lines of force which is linking once you have the rotation being done by these steam turbines. So once you will be having the higher magnetic lines of force, you will be having the output voltage produced to be higher. So once when I say it is 440 volt AC, so it is said to be having a plus or minus 10% variation. So in order to reduce this variation to 5% or 3%, so the maximum flux lines should link the coil. All right. So that is possible only when the areas of the poles are to be made larger. Again, you will be having the flux density and the polar areas to be more to have the maximum value of the voltage. Okay. Now this is the arrangement what I have got. So once you will be having the north pole, south pole, and this is the DC supply what it is given. So north, south. Okay. So where you will be having the non-salient pole type. So as you can see, the construction is more or less like a cyclic, or it is cylindrical. Sorry, it is not cyclic, it is cylindrical, and it is more or less, once you take the cross sectional view, it is said to be concentric in nature. Okay, it is said to be concentric in nature. So DC supply is given to this part of the rotor, and you will be having the production of fluxes. Okay, so current moves in and current goes out. So this is the convention what we have got it. Once I have the dotted conductors, okay, dotted, these are the slots where the field coils are being housed. Okay, so these are the slots, and these are the field windings which are being present there in the slots of the machine. Okay, next, these were the rotor constructions what it is present, and you can go through the notes when it comes to the uh, differentiation or difference between the salient pole type and the non-salient pole type arrangement. Okay, now coming to the frequency of generated EMF. Okay, frequency of generated EMF. So in one revolution of the rotor, the armature coil is being cut by P by 2 north poles and P by 2 south poles. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So one revolution. So how do you take one revolution? So you take one revolution along the center of the shaft of the machine. So that is said to be one revolution. So as it passes, okay, so it has been cut by the number of poles. When I say number of poles is to be 4. Okay, so it is having, it passes through two north poles and two south poles. Okay, so I mean, yeah, two north poles and two south poles. So poles of a machine 4 by 2, it passes through n, yes, n, yes. Okay, so something like that. So it passes through yes, okay, it passes through two north poles and two south poles. So one cycle, when I'm talking about it, so it will have a pair of field poles which passes over the coil, and it is entirely dependent on the rotational speed and the number of magnetic poles, which is both south and north pole, which is placed around the rotor. So hence the frequency, how we can calculate frequency. So it passes through the number of poles and the speed at which it is being generated. So once I'm talking about it, so F will be NP divided by 120. Okay, this is what you will be calling it. And where so this is the number of cycles. So in one cycle when I'm talking, so that is being generated in the armature coil or the stator conductors which are present there. Okay, so this is said to be the frequency of the generated voltage. So if you have any queries which are related to that, so we have done with the construction, working principle, and different types of rotor construction and the frequency of generated EMF. You can do let me know. Okay, do let me know regarding that, and we'll have our discussion in the upcoming class regarding our upcoming video when it comes to EMF equation of a alternator. Okay, we'll stop right here, and in the next class we'll be having our discussion with respect to EMF equation of a three-phase alternator. Okay, go through this video once again. If you have any doubts, do reach out to me. Okay, thank you.